Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for coming. I'm Paul Johnson. I'm the head of school here at KIS, and it's my privilege to welcome you all here for what is a first in a long while for us, a face-to-face parent event. So thank you for being among the brave souls to come and join us today. And for those of you who are watching remotely, thank you for also joining us today. We know that we're still in the pandemic, and there's been a challenging 2 years, but we hope that this event today signifies a little bit of return to normal, and so we do appreciate you being here. Before I pass it on to the real stars of the show, which are our counselors, I'd like just to quickly introduce the school leadership when it comes to secondary school. I'd like to start with the secondary school principal, Mike Hirsch. You've probably seen photos, but for some of you who might be new, this might be the first time you've seen us. Dr. Meacham Purnell is our secondary school vice principal. And standing up there and coming down is Becky Fox, our director for teaching and learning. And again, I'm Paul Johnson, the head of school here. This is my third year here at the school. Oh, thank you. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it on now to our counseling team and Ms. Christina Alcott. So thanks again and enjoy.
Hi everyone, my name is Christina. I'll introduce myself in a minute, but I just want to go over the agenda today. Today, as I mentioned, we're going to introduce ourselves. We're going to talk about the social emotional counseling, and also we're going to talk about the university counseling. And we're going to show you a little bit of what our students in grade 12, the class of 2022, where they have applied and where they're receiving offers from. So just a snapshot of what they are doing at the moment. And of course, questions at the end. And I think we're going to start.
Good morning, everybody. For those of you who haven't met me, my name is Gavin. I'm one of the 3 counsellors here at KIS. I've been here for 8 years, and during that time, I've had a thoroughly enjoyable time, and it really is, I mean this, it's really nice to see people sitting in front of me rather than on a big screen where you're just little squares. I've been working in international education since 1999, so I've actually been away from the UK since the last century. I've worked in Bahrain, China. Thailand has been the main place, so my wife and I got here in 2000, and my 2 daughters were born here and go to school here as well. So I thoroughly like living here, and I love teaching at KIS. As you can see from this, I teach grade 9, grade 10, grade 11, and grade 12. And I'll introduce a little bit more about what I do with those after you've met everybody else. So thanks, it's really nice to see you.
Okay, so once again, my name is Christina Alcott. I am new to KIS. It doesn't quite feel new by now. It feels more like my home, so I'm very happy to be here. Previously to KIS, I have worked in the US, primarily in public education. Then we moved internationally to Germany. I stayed 2 years there. Then to Switzerland for 7. Most recently in India, the American Embassy School for 6 years. And here I am, very happy to be here again. I have worked in IB schools and also schools with American curriculum. And I just realized that Carl and I have been 23 years in education. It's a long time. What do I do at school here? In the first semester, I taught PHAC classes for grade 9 and 10. Just recently, like a month ago, I stopped. Someone else took over, and you're going to hear from that person. I have 1 class in grade 10 for university, and grade 11s and 12s, we have something called Flex. We'll talk more about it, and also part of the child protection team. And again, we're very happy that you're here.
Hello everyone, my name is Kat. So I have been in KIS for quite a long time as well, but as a student, so I'm an alumni at KIS, graduate in 2013, and I am back here as the social and emotional counselor. And so I will talk about my role later on, but I will talk about how I graduate with a bachelor degree in psychology, and I recently graduated with a master degree in counseling psychology. So I have several experience with counseling psychology working at Jula's Wellness Center and at Mata Dei School, as well as a Here to Heal project with the SOSOSO as well. So I have experience with working as a counselor, and so my role here at KIS is the social emotional counselor, so I support the well-being of the students, and also I am taking over the PSHE class, teaching from grade 6 and grade 10. So nice to meet everyone.
Hi again. This is obviously just for information. Please understand that if you want to talk to anybody, you can do that, right? It doesn't matter what name's up there for which class. If you need to speak to one of the counselors, you can make an appointment. We can do it via Zoom, and you never know. Soon we may actually be able to meet face to face, which would be a bonus. But at the moment, this is what happens. Kat is teaching not teaching, she's dealing with social and emotional counselling from grade 6 through to grade 12. Myself, I do university counselling. I teach the grade 9s a course called Futures, which I'll talk a little bit about on one of the next slides. But I also do grade 10A and 10B university seminars, and then I do university counselling for half of grade 11 and half of grade 12. Christina does the opposite. She teaches 10C for the universities, and then half of 11 and 12, but she also deals with a lot of child protection issues should they arise. But please just remember, the bottom line is you can talk to any of us about anything that you want to talk about. So that's why we're here really today, so you can put a kind of face to the name that you see on the screens.
So, okay, for my role as a social and emotional counseling, so my main responsibility is teaching grade 6 to 10 the PSHE class. So for all of you guys who wonder what PSHE class is, the PSHE class is the personal social health education class, where our aim is to teach students knowledge and skills for them to be happy and healthy, and for them to lead the healthy and happy independent life. So for example, right now in grade 6, we are learning about bullying and how we can deal with bully, and how us as an individual can stand up against bully. For grade 7, we are learning about self-esteem and body images, while for grade 8, we are currently talking about substance use. For grade 8, we are learning about empathy and friendship and relationship. For grade 9, we're learning about substance, and for grade 10, we are talking about coping skills and social stress or anxiety and depression as well. So that is what we are learning about in the PSHE class. And my main responsibility as a counselor is for me to support the student well-being and to promote their health as well. And in my office, we have like a safe space for all the students that they could come in and talk about their worry or concern regarding anything. It could be about their friendship, self-esteem, or learning support that they need. So my office is open, and it is a safe space where students can come in and make sure that nobody will be judging them, and there will be someone who listen to them and support them, their well-being. My other role is that I assist with the new student transition. So I met with the new students and check up on how they're doing, and acquire if they need any help, and I also observe them and how they're doing with the transition to the new school. And my other last role is the pastoral care support. So in our pastoral care support, we support the welfare and the development of the students. In the meeting, we work collaboratively with the principals, the counselor, and the coordinator. We talk about how we could help each and every one of the students to develop and achieve what they want. So that is my role as the social emotional counselor. And if any parents like had any concern or want to talk about as well, you can always come to visit my office. So it's on the 3rd floor.
I'm just going to talk a little bit about what I do with the grade 9 students. This is something which is relatively new. We introduced this course a couple of years ago, and unfortunately it's been pandemicated with like in, out. Some kids, have hardly done anything, but are there any grade 9 parents here? Right? Hello. One of the things that I do first off, I walk into the classroom and I say, look, there's 20 of you in here, what makes you special? And they all sit there like a lump, because that's what grade 9 kids do. And then I say, you're from India, you're from Thailand, you're from the UK, you're from Australia, you're growing up in an international place, you speak 3 languages, of course you're special. I want kids to appreciate what they have. And that's something I talk to them about their futures and what they want to do, where they want to go. I don't necessarily speak about careers, because that's something that they will grow into and that will come later. But what I do is try to make them think about themselves. And we do this lesson once a week with the grade 9s. I talk about global citizenship and where our place is in the world of today. Obviously, they've grown up, some of these kids have grown up from grade 7. They've been part of a pandemic, and they think that looking like this is normal. And it's not, and hopefully in the future it won't be, and I try to get that across as well. But what I do is I try to get them to grow into themselves, to learn about themselves, and just to talk to each other and get a sense of belonging of who they are. That's what the Futures course is about. I want them to know their place as global citizens, not just as people who go to KIS, but as people who are part of a bigger world and that will have something to offer to it later on.
Okay, so grade 10. In grade 10, Carl and I continue with the self-discovery. And we want the students to go a little deeper about who they are, not only as people and humans, but also who they are as learners. And one of the reasons we do that is because there's this course selection process, right? Grade 10 is a really exciting grade because it's the first time that students will make decisions that they're really important for their academic life. And they have to make the decisions in grade 10, right? So we want them to really go deeper into who they are as learners. So for example, are you a student who is more like a hands-on? Or are you a student that you are a visual learner? So we want them to just reflect on those things. Also, as part of the course selection process, we want the students to start thinking about what they are good at. If you ask a grade 10 student, what are your skills? They look at you like, what? What skills? So we started to talk to them more and more about, think about what skills you have, because you do. So it takes them a little bit of time. Even if I ask you now, what are your skills? You'll be like, let me think about it a little bit, right? So that's what we go through them too. So we go through who they are as learners and human beings, what they like, because it's also, we know that when we like something, we tend to do much better, right? And many times the students in grade 10, they confuse a career with a hobby. And there are two very different things, right? Can you make a career of your hobby? Of course you can. But sometimes the students, I had students in the past where they say, I want to be an actress. Fantastic. But is it that as a career or is it as a hobby? So we just want them to start thinking what they are good at, what they like, and that all comes together with the course selection process, right? So this is one of the main things that we do the first semester. We also talk about, we want them to start doing a little bit of research about the different applications, systems in the world, university application systems in the world. One of the reasons we do that is because we want them to start thinking about best fit. And just that best fit term can be at times controversial, but we can have just a meeting about that, or two, right? Because it's so complex. So best fit, and I won't go into much, but just as a summary, has three main components. One is the academic fit, right? The academic fit is not only what the student shows to university in terms of grades and academic achievement. That's one thing, and then the university decides if we want the student academically or not. But I want them to go a little deeper than that. So for instance, how that particular country teaches, what is their educational philosophy? How do they assess students, right? Because if you ask a grade 10 student where you want to go or where you want to study, very typical answer. The US, the UK, Hong Kong, and the Netherlands. And from their perspective, that's what they want to do. But for us counselors, we need to say, okay, wait a second, that's great, but what do you know about those countries academically? Are you the best? Is the best fit for you? Are you a student, for example, Netherlands have become really, really popular with the students, right? But the students don't know, why would they? Because they're just 16 years old, right? That when you go to study in the Netherlands, most likely you will study 1 or 2 classes per 10 weeks. Then you have an exam. Of course, it might be some course that is slightly different, but for the most part, that's what it is. So if you go back to who I am as learner, are you a student with short memory is one of your skills, where you can grasp knowledge and concepts in a very short amount of time, or you need a lot more time? Other systems, you go to university, you have exams, maybe two times a year, or at the end of the year. So we want them to start thinking that it's not just going to a country or just, I want to study that particular course. We want them to think a little deeper. So that's the academic fit. Then we have the financial fit, right? And for that, each family is a world on its own. So it's not just, can I afford what my child wants to do? That's one part, that's great. But it's also the value of education. I have parents in the past saying, I have the money to pay $250,000 for the 4 years, but I don't want to, because at the end of the 4 years, what is the value of it? So this is something that we start talking to students and hopefully families soon about these things, because it's really important, right? It's not just, can I afford it or not? Do I want to pay for that or not? So that's the financial fit. And then there's the one last that is the most underestimated one, and is probably equal for sure, and sometimes more important, which is the social and emotional fit. Let me explain to you. So let's take the Netherlands, right? If I ask the student, have you been there? No. Do you know anyone there? No. Why you want to go there? Well, because I heard it's easy to get into. I heard that it's cheaper, and I see that it's very popular. And I'm thinking, okay, but do you see yourself living there? Do you know what it is to live there? Do you fit? Just a month ago, there was an article in the Netherlands that 70% of international students, and I think the survey was about 3,000 students, I think it was 3,000 students, 70%, they felt lonely and they suffer from different degrees of depression. That is enormous. So how many of those students were not ready to go to the Netherlands because they didn't fit socially and emotionally? If the child is not ready in the Netherlands, at 18, you are an adult. And that means that as parents, we don't make appointments for them, We don't have the right to see any record, medical, mental, physical, academic, forget it. They have to make their own, open their own bank accounts. They have to do everything for themselves. So you know your children, and so you need to also help them with that, right? So there's three, all those together, the academic, the financial, and the emotional fit, which is really broad. Like I said, we can have plenty of sessions about that. That's what it makes the best fit. So we want students to start thinking, do I really fit in the United States? Do I really fit in Hong Kong based on all that? We also want them to have, by the end of the school year, a super preliminary and rough list. This is never the list, because it's grade 10. But the reason why we ask them to do that, and they can put all of them, 30, 40, doesn't matter, 3, 4. The reason why we do that is because we want them to start researching the universities, because it's super time consuming. So we want them to see, okay, could be a potential match. What is that is about? And if they like it, they put it there. So it's not a list, it's not a final list, not even close to final, but it's just to kind of train them on how to do that matching and that research. And of course, later in the year, we'll talk to them about transition into grade 11. KIS, between 10 and 11, that's a big step, right? NYP to DP. So we were talking to them about that too. And I forgot to mention about careers. So we also spent some time during grade 10 talking about careers. Sometimes students don't know what they want to do, which is totally fine. So we might do career clusters, at least have an idea. I want to do something in the sciences. I want to do something in the arts, right? So just to start thinking about it and then start matching their careers preferences to possible courses in university. So all that happens during grade 10. So that's why it's very exciting and kind of intense year when it comes to universities.
It doesn't seem like very much, does it? 4 or 5 lines about what Christina, myself, and Kat do with the students in grade 11. But trust me, it's an amazingly busy year. They go from grade 10, where they're top of one tree, to grade 11, where they're the bottom of the diploma students. They go from doing a personal project, which takes up an awful lot of their time, to doing 6 discrete subjects that they've chosen themselves. They do TOK, Theory of Knowledge, which is the philosophy of learning, really. Why do we learn? How do we learn? What do we do? What does it mean? They do creativity, activity and service, which means that I always say, because I'm the CAS coordinator, that CAS is the fun part of the IB diploma. But when you've got 6 subjects, an extended essay, and your TOK to do, maybe it's not so much fun. And then you've got Christina and myself always whispering in their ear, never forget that there is a goal to this, right? The stuff that we started talking about a long time ago is going to come to fruition in the next 2 years. Never lose that goal, because when times get hard, they can see this at the end. There's this little light which gets larger as they progress through grade 11 and to grade 12. They're going to go to somewhere to do something that they want to do and something that they've planned. And that's what Christina and I do with grade 11. In a normal year, when I first got here, every other day outside the canteen, there would be a university visiting. And it doesn't matter whether the students want to go to that particular university. It helps them to hone their skills, to ask questions. How much does it cost? How much face time do we actually get with the professors? Is it grad students who teach us? Things like that. They learn how to research about their universities. Unfortunately, that stopped, but we've still been having online things, and many, many students have continued to do it. And luckily, because they're online, actually, we've been able to open it up to kind of lower down the school. So that's quite good. But we are hoping that within the next few months, hopefully, we'll be able to get some of those seminars going again. Christina and I also carry out, and many of the other staff as well, Becky and Mike, I know, are doing them as well, academic reviews. In the MYP, you go with your son or daughter to a 3-way conference and you talk to the teachers. What we do in the IB diploma level and the CP level is we ask the students to lead their own academic review. How do you think you've done at physics? Why do you think you got a 6 or a 4 or a 2 or whatever it is? Because when they go to university, mum and dad unfortunately won't be with them when they go for their tutorial, and they will have to defend themselves and defend with their own work. So we try to start that in grade 11, and we continue it into grade 12. Although we do have 2 lessons, 1 lesson every week with the grade 11 and the grade 12, we tend to have it on maths, and we use it to talk about extended essays or theory of knowledge or KIS, or if some other teacher needs to catch up because something has occurred and they haven't been able to teach their class. We call it a flex lesson for that very reason. It's flexible, anybody can use it. An awful lot of stuff to do in grade 11. And I don't want them to leave university involvement to the end, because as you all know, when you rush something, people can tell. Christina spoke about introducing application systems to students in grade 10. In grade 11, they can actually sign up for the Common Application, which is the US system, but also encompasses now some schools and universities in Singapore, Hong Kong, and the UK. And then towards the end of the year, they can also register for the UCAS, which is the UK system of applications. But we also find that students apply all over the world. So sometimes they come, and I've had students who have come to me and they want to go, where was the one? Bangladesh, I think, was a student who I used to deal with. And I had to write to the school and say, what do I do? I have no idea. We don't have a large group of people going to Bangladesh every year to do their masters. But we do that. That's part of our job. So, you know, please don't be backward in coming forward if you need advice on somewhere that we may not know about. Talking to the kids in grade 10, and they don't really get it sometimes, I say to them, you are going to be one of 10,000 people applying to a really high-status university, and they're going to see that your predicted grades are 37 points, but then everybody else on that table is going to be predicted 37 points and above as well. You have one chance of making a first impression. It's your essay or your personal statement. Students who really want to apply spend a long time on that. You know, I know that sometimes I will send something back on, Google's great, right? You can just ping it backwards and forwards, but 7, 8 times just to change words. You know, just, is this really you? Does this, don't sound like a thesaurus, sound like yourself. So we spend a lot of time helping students to deal with their applications, because, as I say, you get one chance to make that first impression. And I just want to say, some of the pictures on here are great. Manit's put all these pictures on there. The kids on these pictures tend to have smiley faces, and I think our kids are genuinely pretty happy to be here, right? I was talking to a parent outside earlier on, and I spoke to Mike about it as well. His son is just about to graduate from a university, one of the universities of California, and we were saying, my God, how did that happen? It's 4 years ago since he left. And I got an email today from a kid who tells me that she's got an offer from one of the universities in Hong Kong, and she's over the moon. I first met her in grade 4, right? All of a sudden she's an adult and she's off to Hong Kong. So what we do, I think, does work, doesn't it? And we do enjoy it. Sorry, I just babble.
Okay, so what do we do in grade 12? Grade 12, really, students come and they apply to universities. Apply to universities is only 3 words, but it encompasses so much. It's so intense for students, for us too, but that's our job, right? So most students come to grade 12 and they're ready to apply. The most activity with applications will happen during the first semester, and some during the second semester, but just, a little bit less. So applying to university, like I say, is sending applications. So imagine if a student applies to 8 universities, different universities, and has to fill out, 8 applications. Without a doubt, students in grade 12 always underestimate how long it takes to fill out one application. Do we have grade 12 parents? Oh, okay. Well, anyway, grade 12 parents will tell you if they know about it. They think that it's about 3-5 minutes, in, out, done. But it takes a long time to just prepare one application. So imagine 8, imagine all of them, right? So applications, we help students send in documents, whether letters of recommendation, transcripts, depending on where they apply, they might need very specific documents that we need to prepare for them. So that's what we do too. And of course, the essay and the personal statement now is real and it's final. So we just help students with refine and edit all those personal statements and essays. Sometimes they have external entrance exams. We talk to the students about that too. Same as with grade 11, academic reviews is something that we do with grade 12. It's a great opportunity to know what they are academically and what is their plan to achieve their goals. And oftentimes includes university planning. And of course, soon they're gonna go, they're gonna leave, and there's another transition, which is transition to universities, and that's something that Carol and I would talk to grade 12s about it. Okay, so done with the counseling continuum, and we wanted to show you where our students, the class of 2022, decided to apply. So as you see, we have UK, Thailand, USA, Canada, and Netherlands as the main countries this year. But also we have Hong Kong, Italy, France, Germany, Taiwan. I imagine this changes a little bit throughout the years. But yeah. Next is, so what programs our students are interested in? Current class of 2022. This year, I don't know if this, again, I don't know if it's the same as other years. I think it's this particular year, we have quite a few students applying to art and design courses, which is fantastic. Science, psychology, very popular too. Business and economics, but you also see many other programs that our students are interested in and apply to. These are the offers that we have received. I have to tell you something, because if you see the UK as the main one, you say, wait a second, they applied to so many others. What happened to the others? Let me explain to you. We don't have access to their results of what they hear from universities, except for the UK. Okay, so for the UK, our school is connected to their system. So we know at the moment the student gets an offer. But otherwise, the student has to tell us. We don't have access to it, and we continuously tell them, let us know, let us know. So far, this is where students have received offers. I think it's more to look at the countries and less at how the pie chart is showing the UK as one of the most offers. So far, we have students with offers in Canada, Taiwan, Italy, Thailand, Netherlands, Hong Kong, USA, and UK. Oh, okay. Any general questions? Any comments? Yeah.
Hi, I'm Nisha, and I'm a grade 11 mom. So my question is regarding some finances, the financial fit that you spoke about, so that I know how I'm placed in grade 12 as well. So this is something like what I have heard, that when you're applying for universities, so you need to hold a particular bank balance statement as well. That's what university checks. That's what I've heard. So my question is in 3 parts. Like by what time do universities actually check the passbooks or the financial statements? The second part is whether they check it, since I'm not Thai, so do they check the financial statements of Thailand as well as my native nation, my country as well. And my third part of the question is like, if it's actually the financial statement, or do they also check credits, like how well is my credit statement?
Oh, I see. Do you want me to go? Okay. So, well, that's a complex question, but not all universities ask for that financial statement. That's number one. There are universities, so students in the US, they apply to the US as part of their visa. Universities ask for that statement from the bank. Usually one has to show enough money to cover, before it was 1 year, now they're doing 2 or the entire 4 years. They don't care about your credit, but if someone here is a US citizen and is looking for financial aid, that's a whole different situation. They will look into everything. They will look into your assets. They will look into what you owe, what you make for the last few years, everything you can imagine. So if any of you are in that situation, just come and talk to us.
I'm especially asking for UK, the universities for the UK.
When you get an offer from UCAS, it will normally say in the offer, you're being treated as an international student and you must pay a deposit by a certain date, but they don't do any checks other than that for the UK.
You also asked when that you have to do. Once the student has been admitted, and the process starts with the housing, the visa, and all that. So quite in the grade 12. Second semester, most likely. Yeah. Yeah.
One of the things about that graph actually is, and you're right, aren't you? As a school, we tend to apply to the UK before Christmas. And they quite often get offers before Christmas. The last date is the middle of January. But the USA, many of our students are still waiting and they won't find out until March. So that's why that looks a bit disproportionate.
How does Canada treat American citizens? And vice versa, I guess, to be fair. Do they
Canada,
need visas?
how it treats American citizens? That's a very good question. I think that Canadian universities can receive financial aid from the US. So that's a good thing. In terms of visas, I would imagine they do not need a visa, but I'm not sure. Do you know, Carl?
I have absolutely no idea.
I have
think
no idea.
as long as they're not driving a lorry, they'll probably be okay to get in. But
I
other than
don't
that, I
have
don't really
a lot
know.
of American students going to Canada.
Representatives from UBC, but I must say that in my experience over the last, say, 8 or 9 years, we've had absolutely no trouble whatsoever with any of our students picking up visas to go to Canadian universities.
Thank you so much. Christina, I really appreciate your breakdown of best fit. It's been something on our mind as well. I think the first two are more easy to understand, right? We can look at academics, we can look at finances, but the last one is the one we've been really thinking about. And if we're not studying here in Thailand, it's really a challenge, I think, for parents and kids to understand the best fit for a place that they can maybe only imagine, or they can only see on TV, or maybe visit once. The other thing I've realized is oftentimes when we talk to universities, it's more like, how does our student fit there, rather than, does the school fit for our student? Do you know what I mean? It's like, do we pass the test to get in? But really, I want my kid to start thinking about, is that a place where I can thrive? Is that a place where I'll be happy? Is that a place where it's good for me? So it's a comment, I'm not sure if it's a question, but that challenge of understanding best fit when we're here and the school might be there is a big challenge for us. So I don't know if anyone has thoughts on that, but it's a big one on my mind. Thank you.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I think there are a couple things we can do as parents. One, if possible, I don't know, of course, traveling is restricted, but when possible, visit the university, because I have found students that when they visit university, they had an idea of what it was. And when they go there and they're with students and they see and feel the energy, they're like, I don't fit here. So if possible, that. Another way is to talk to students that they are there now. They can give you an insight if you cannot travel. The virtual tours from universities are always a good way to find out more, but they usually sell the university, right? So might not give you the specifics. But I think that those two things, traveling if possible, visiting universities or talking, we have limited visits now, but if we do, we will make sure that you know. And then talking to recent students that went from here to the university. Do you have any other?
I think basically what she said, but you know, over the last 2 or 3 years, universities have really upped their game with their websites about talk to Fred Smith, who is studying PPE at such and such a place. And you know, we've had some strange offers and some kids who have gone to strange places. A few years ago, we had 3 kids, Thai kids, who went to Norman, Oklahoma, to the University of Oklahoma. And you know, when I say to people they want to be pilots and engineers, they got really good courses. And they set up a YouTube channel, and it was all about cooking Thai food in the middle of Oklahoma. And they got thousands of hits and all that. They really made a life for themselves there. It is difficult, and who knows? I've been to this university, but not many other people have, I'm guessing. And who knows how they'll get on. But that's one of the things that we do talk to them about. You don't just pluck something out of the air and think, I want to go there. We need to talk about it, as do you as parents.
But I very much appreciate your comment, because as I said before during the presentation, it's one aspect that we underestimate the most, and is one of the most important ones. We often think that our kids, I have two kids in university, by the way, so that's what I'm talking a little bit as a parent too, right? We often think that they're gonna do fine wherever they go, and that is not how it happens. A student who goes to a university that is not very good fit socially and emotionally can be an absolute disaster, can suffer a lot, and in the end, it's really worth it, right? So anything that we could do with that aspect at this moment, that would be great. And maybe in the future, you can travel to the university in 1 year. That will be my number one recommendation, if possible. But also thinking more the university sometimes is the country, the culture. So thinking, what are the personal and cultural values of your child and your family? And what are the cultural values of the country he or she wants to go to? Do they match? Yes, they match. Fantastic. They don't match. Let's talk about it.
Hi. Hi. Okay. I found your pie chart, the slide with pie charts, very interesting. And I would love to be able to go deeper. You know, more analyzing why it's like that. And the only thing I see is just raw facts, right? But for those of us who are thinking about applying, you know, why so many U.S., this many people applying to the U.S., why so many applying to the U.K., and so what's the rationale behind? And I'm sure this is not happened by chance. You know, this student or family, they have gone through a lot of research and rationale behind. And for us who coming next, it would help us to learn all these things that they have been through before. And also, one other slide you put up, it seemed to me like there are more offers from the UK, for example, as opposed from the US or Canada or something. Okay, what's the rationale behind all this? I'm sure you've talked with them. You should have the answer.
I don't think that there's any. We don't necessarily push any agenda, right? Our job is somebody comes to us and says, I want to go to university in Ulaanbaatar, and we will look at Mongolia and try to work out how to get them to that university. I guess the fact is that many students feel that you can get a really good medical education in the UK because you don't have to do 4 years pre-med, then find an internship, and then go on and do another 5 years, which you would do in America. Or perhaps they want to get their medical qualification in the UK and then come back to Thailand. I don't think, well, I know, we don't push any particular universities. Students come to us quite often, they have thoughts because of their parents, where their parents were educated, and sometimes their parents, you know, they kind of push them to, or not push them, but talk to them about where they went to school, and the fact that perhaps they would be as well off to do that as well. Your second question has completely gone out of my head. What? Oh yeah, when you apply to the UK, you get 5 shots, right? So UCAS, for about 2,300 baht, you can apply to 5 universities. So students will apply to King's, UCL, Middlesex, Bath, and Warwick for psychology. And if we do our jobs correctly, they will pick universities that they will get offers from. They'll have a Reach University, which is maybe 38 points. They'll have 3 match universities, which might be 34 points, and then a safety just in case they have a nightmare at 32 points. And they really, you know, they might get offers from 5 universities. So that's why the imbalance. And also the second part is the fact that we haven't had many of our replies yet from the United States because they tend to send them out in March. So if we do another one of these in April, you might find that that graph would be skewed the other way when our American cousins send us their replies as well. Is that okay?
Yeah, okay. Just want to clarify a little bit. I'm not suggesting that you are pushing anything.
Oh, no, I do understand. It's just that the kids kind of come to us with their own ideas, and we have had kids who have gone to lots of different countries.
I would just like to know from the parent side, what all these parents think about when they apply for this university. So if you could, when you talk with the student or the parents, if you could find out the rationale behind, and we can learn from them why they think this way and this way, because they have done a lot of research, I think. So we don't have to, you know, reinvent the wheel. We can learn from their lesson. If you have this kind of information, it would.
Can I just move over? Sorry, you want to talk about this? Yeah, sorry. Yeah, please do.
When I applied to colleges to the United States 30 years ago, my father, who went to school in the US, told me when choosing a college, choose it for weather, it's safe, and that's it. Because when I was applying to US 30 years ago, there's no internet. You filled out a little card and you mail it off and you hope for a brochure. So 30 years ago was choose a place with the best weather and safe. Believe me, in the end, I've been to then 3 schools in the US and I've hated all of them. And my sons are not going to apply to any of the schools I went to in the US because I've been there. So they're going to apply to new schools. So in the end, I don't want to say this, but it's by faith and hope and the Thai word to be wasana. That's it. Sorry to say.
There could be many reasons why a family chooses to apply to one country or another. It's really hard to know.
You know, one thing as well, I say to some of the students, obviously we all know there are certain named colleges and universities worldwide. But when it comes down to it, it's not the college that you go to, it's the person who goes through that college and what they decide to do with the education that they get. The same as kids who come through here will be different to kids who go through other places where it's like an exam mill or there are 50 kids in a class. I talk to the kids and say to them, look, your physics class here probably has at maximum, in grade 12, we'll have 20 kids, at the very maximum. Do you want to go to a university where your Physics 101 class is 450 people in an amphitheatre where if you don't get there on time, you don't get a seat, and if you put your hand up, they're never going to answer your question? You know what I mean? So we talk about all sorts of things. You know, fit means lots of different things as well. I think many of you send your kids to our school because of the family atmosphere that we engender here. So for them then to disappear off to a place where there's 5,000 kids in their first class is not going to be the best thing for them. So we do talk about a lot of stuff. I don't think we really go through a lot of the paper, like we don't grind all the mills exceeding small, but we do think about where our kids go. Sorry.
Hi, this is Rahul Mukherjee, and we're glad to be here physically at last. I would want to ask a question to Christina about the counseling thing. I would want to know more as a parent. See, there are two aspects basically from a parent's point of view to understand this. One is the tangibles, and then there is the intangibles. The tangibles obviously being the financial, but I'm more interested in the intangibles, the mindset of the students. When you said that, the students should actually choose where they will be feeling more comfortable socially, with what they are used to culturally, and obviously, psychologically. So that would be the best, I would say, to get more secured in an environment where they are used to. But then, thinking of that, the question arises is, then I'm actually, questioning the whole thing about putting my child in this international environment and trying to be global, So if that's the case, then Indians will never leave India because they are the most suitable, culturally in India. Same with Thailand, same with, any other countries. So how are we, then represent my child globally, if we are thinking or counseling them in that way? Thank you.
Oh, okay. So sorry, I was just asking, what was the question? So when the students come to an international school, right, we have certain values, and I think that's why you send your kids here, right? Students after that and families can choose where they send students to university. And the emotional social fit that I mentioned is only one aspect. It's not the aspect. There are many other things that, and that's why we have the luxury here to talk to students and families individually, because they're very particular circumstances for each family. So I think that if that is something that is in your mind for your own child, I would like to know more individually, right? And I'd like to know more what are your hopes and goals and intentions for your particular child. So I think that let's do it.
Hi, good morning. So my question is about the IB scores, IB exams. My children are still in grades 8 and 9. I'm not familiar, aside from it's very stressful, the IB exams. How does it correlate with university applications like a do or die, or just having a high points, you call it points? How does it translate to college applications? And it's like, if you get a certain point, do you forgo entrance exams or things like that? Or worse, and very unfortunate thing that hopefully doesn't happen, if you don't pass your IB exam, what happens to your university plans?
Yeah, so, that's also a complex question. But depending on when your child wants to go to university, the requirements are different, right? Some universities have requirements, and some courses have certain requirements where they give you the minimum entry requirements. So let's say your child wants to study economics and in Warwick, for example, and they're asking for 38 points, right? The students and grade 2 students, we are teaching them how to do the research. So they already know, or they're looking at it now, that they need to get 38 points as a minimum entry requirement, because sometimes they think that they had 38 points, I'm in, right? And maybe or maybe not, there are other parts of the application. So depending on where you apply, is super important. It's a key factor, the IB grades and results. If you apply to universities or countries where there's more holistic approach, that is only one factor among 17 others. So it is different, right? So that's why, because coming to an international school, it opens doors to the world, right? It's not like, I don't know, when I was younger and I went to university, I didn't have the options that my own kids have now. So, and at the same time, it's great, but also it's very daunting to kids because there's so much, it's too much sometimes. So yeah, the IB results play a huge factor depending on where your child chooses to go to.
The UK tends to be number orientated, but only for certain courses. If you want to be a medic, you need to do chemistry, oddly enough, because they reckon over the 7 years you'll learn enough biology. So universities are going to say to you, right, you must get a 6 in chemistry because we want you to understand that organic, plus you're going to probably do well in your other 6 subjects as well. In the US and in other countries, they give you something called credit. So if you do well in your higher level subjects, you may well get to miss out on some of the lower level courses, which can save you money because your course is shortened. So it does make a difference. But even if, as you said yourself, every now and then things happen, right? Someone doesn't receive, say, 24 points for some reason. They may be ill or whatever it is. They still receive IB certificates. And in most systems, they will also probably get a KIS graduation certificate. They will graduate from here with a high school certificate. In the UK, each one of those certificates is worth a certain amount of what's known as tariff points. And to go to university, if you get above the tariff that they set for you, you can still go. So never say never, right? There are ways and means for students to progress no matter what.
One more thing that I would like to say is that there's always a place for everyone. And that sounds a little cliche, but it's actually true. Even when things don't work out at the end, sometimes things happen, things don't work out. Even then, there are places to go. They might not be what they wanted or what they were hoping for, but there are always paths. Going to university, getting a degree, sometimes it's not a straight line. We always think it's a straight line, and many times it is, but many times it's not a straight line. There are always pathways where students can go. So I would not worry too much about that now, but because the students are gonna do the best they can at the moment. And what we don't do is to stress them out with 30 points, 36 points, you must, we don't do that at all. Because we know that there are plenty of options for everyone.
I'm a mother of grade 6B student. Thank you so much for the information, and this is what I have to expect and prepare for in 4 years' time. But my question is to Kat, because my daughter is grade 6B student, and
Here, Kat.
you were taking care of kids from grade 6 onwards. And my daughter these days, she usually have an issue with friendship. But my question is, if those kids come and see you and discuss with you about their issue and problems, and afterwards, how will you communicate back to the parents about this? I mean, I want to know what is the communication with you and the parents.
So as a counselor, our room is a safe space, and sometimes we had ethics and moral that we have to keep, and we have to keep certain information if the child does not feel safe, and certain information that the child or the student share with me, and they felt that they don't want to be share with other people, I have the moral to keep those information confidential unless certain things that they share with me are things that could be in danger towards themselves or other people. Then I may consider talking to the teams and could be asking for the student permission to share this information to the parents.
In case if the students doesn't want to disclose this information to the parents, but you see that this is dangerous in some ways, then what will you do next?
So normally we will discuss them in a pastoral care meeting or discuss with the team, so with the principal and vice principal on what we can do with that situation. And if the situation are complex and severe, some of the cases we might need to get back to the parents as well.
Thanks. Actually, I wanted to maybe follow up on both of the last two statements. First, Christina, you mentioned the not straight pathway for our kids through life, really, or university. And I mean, my pathway was never straight, right? And it's still not. Going back to the slides on applications, firstly, I was thinking of that list, they're all very specific, right? It's psychology, it's medicine, it's business. Are there opportunities for students who are applying for liberal arts or general education? Because I didn't know. I don't think my daughter knows. And I'm just wondering how kind of pigeonholed they have to be in their application process these days. So if I could ask a second question. I also wanted to just appreciate, Kat, that you're here and that you're providing counseling. Maybe this is a broader question to, Paul, or to others. Where does KIS stand on things like preparing students for mindfulness or with mindfulness skills or social emotional skills that really help them be ready for being in school, but also just living life after school? So thanks for two questions.
Oh, yeah, so for the, not a straight line, right? So yes, they are, when we talk to students about possible courses, we offer all options. One of them, the liberal art courses. And there's a difference because we know from the US the liberal art education, and also there are European courses now that are becoming very, very popular precisely because some students, they don't know what to do, right? So they have a little bit of education, and now they're dividing them into the humanities and the sciences. So there are opportunities for students, and a student that doesn't know what to do yet or choose a course, there are plenty of opportunities too. And that's when the communication that we have with the student, not only in our classes, but also individually, is crucial, especially also with families. Sometimes the students, they might not want to say something, but that's why you're here too as parents, right? So we'd like to meet with you too and talk about these things for sure. Yeah.
A couple of years ago, I don't know if anyone came to this, but we had a meeting with a professor of engineering from the University of Melbourne. About 40 parents met, and he told us that students who graduate today may well have 7 careers, not jobs, because I've probably had more than 7 jobs, but careers. And that's exactly what we try to do now. In the olden days, people left school, got a job in a bank, retired, got a gold clock, and that was it. Now it's this, isn't it? You know, people change, and universities are changing. They're having to, and the last 2 years is making that even more apparent. So yes, we do. I sometimes say to the students when they say, I don't know what to do, what I want to do, I say, good, because the world is your lobster, right? You can do anything that you want to, and it might be next week that you read a book that talks about what you're going to end up doing. Some kids do get born and realize they want to become doctors, but many don't.
And anymore, I think that unless it's something super specific like medicine or engineering, the first degree is really a foundation, what I see anymore, right? Because a student that is going to study business, it's fantastic, but it's more like a foundation for business. We don't know what that person is gonna do later. So, yeah. And the second part is about mindfulness. Yeah, so we have been fortunate to have Kat here this semester, and I know for sure because I was in one of the sessions that she's introducing this in the PhD classes. So we are now introducing more and more. We didn't have her last semester, so we were a little bit trying to do a lot of things, but now we have one. And I don't know if I can say that next year we'll have someone, a social and emotional counselor, just dedicated for grades 5 to 10, 4 to 9.
4 to 8.
8. Sorry, 4 to 8. 4 to 8. Yeah.
Hi. Can you present some information about regarding the university acceptance information? Can you go over a little bit about the scholarship part because it's kind of missing?
You know what? This really isn't the time and place to do about scholarships. Let me just explain. When I first got here, we applied for lots of scholarships, but I use an analogy of a shotgun approach. If you apply to enough universities and pull the trigger, you're going to get a lot of offers. What we try to do now is to find the best fit for our students, and that often doesn't encompass scholarships. Now, there are two sides to this coin as well. Many US universities will give you a discount, but unless you're the best golfer, basketball player or footballer, you're probably not going to get 100% scholarship. There are ways and means. There are academic ways, there are sports ways, and also through need. But it's quite often dealt with. Christina and I will deal with the family on a one-to-one basis about what their needs are, rather than, a one-shot fits or one-size-fits-all approach.
I mean, for our student, what kind of scholarship they have got so far? That's what I mean.
I had one student telling me that she got a £3,000 per year scholarship, which is quite interesting for the UK. So it might seem a little amount, but there's not such scholarships like that, really, for tuition, not for books, not for anything, just reduction in tuition. And we have a few others. Before, maybe Carl, you want to share, I want to say one more thing. If you are basing your decision on university choices purely on scholarships, we really need to talk, because that rarely happens.
Sorry.
No, I was, or financial aid or anything like that. Please come and talk to us. We really need to plan for that, because even if we plan, might not happen. So I always say to students and families, make sure that you have at least one financial safety school. Mm-hmm. What that means is that without compromising any life, vacations, whatever that is, you can afford it. Because the scholarships and financial aid is never guaranteed.
My first year here, one of the students went off. She got offered a place at the University of East Anglia in Norwich to study law, and we were talking about scholarships. She went off and researched and got a 50% scholarship eventually. Quite often you get scholarships when you get to the university, because you get there and find out that through your academic success, they will give you money which will aggregate to take money off what you're going to have to pay. Hong Kong has a very numbers-based scholarship. If you get over 38 points in most of the 9 public universities in Hong Kong, you will get 50% scholarship. And that goes up to, if you get over 42 points, you'll get 100% scholarship. If you get 45 points, they will pay for everything. But obviously 0.whatever% of people get 45 points in the IB diploma, so they're onto a winner. Plus less people seem to be applying to Hong Kong now. This year, I think one of my students has got a $280,000 award from one of his universities, but that's still not a full scholarship over 4 years, so it just goes to show how much that university is going to cost. So it's swings and roundabouts. Every year is different. As Christina's hit the nail on the head, really, don't apply to university if you're going to need scholarships. Apply to somewhere that everyone will be happy about. Are we done?
Are we done? Any more questions? Okay. Well, I really liked to have this interaction. I hope we can have more of this. I hope we can have small groups. We can really discuss things in depth, maybe by grade or maybe, doesn't really matter. So thank you very much.
Mike's
for
going to
being
sing
here.
now.
What song would you like me to sing? No, I just wanted to say a big thank you to Carl and Christina for putting this together this morning and sharing their knowledge and insights with us. I also wanted to say a big thank you to all of you for making time to come in. What I find is that education is a very, very powerful thing, particularly when it comes to the university application process. And so if you can slowly but surely learn about this process, you can take good advantage of your child's university counselor to ask questions and to educate yourself. Then what will happen, will have a much more positive and much less stressful experience. Scholarships is a really great topic that people are not educated on. And so they will say, fingers crossed, I'm going to get a big scholarship at an American public university, and you're not an American, and they're not going to give you any money at all. And so by learning slowly and by asking tons of questions, you will make your experience so much more positive. So thank you for investing in your child's application process and helping to help us help you in a better way. With that, thank you. Have a lovely day and stay safe, and hopefully we'll have more meetings like this in the future.